What is going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and these are the 5 baits that I'm going to be using to catch giants in the month of July. Stay tuned. What? A big head. All right, so the month of July, hot as blue blazes, middle of the summer. I know a lot of you guys are out of school and you can jump in and go fishing wherever you want. Well, one of the key things to understand in July is slow catches big fish. I can't begin to tell you how many big fish I've caught slow dragging something. And that's going to be a key thing to the baits this month. You know, offshore structure in ponds and stuff like that, you're looking for hard spots or hard stumps or into brush piles and that kind of stuff in ponds. Bigger lakes, you're looking for drops, ledges, humps, points, things like that with hard bottom, just like you were last month in those baits. A little bit further out, maybe a little bit deeper as the thermocline changes and that kind of stuff. There's just so much to it, but let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple with these baits. Number one, my first one is probably the one I'm going to be throwing the most this time of the year, and that's some type of a football jig. Now, all of these, we're going to leave links in the description for Tackle Warehouse, and the rods are going to be the Cast King website, that kind of stuff. I get a pretty good affiliate link on both of these, so to support the channel, go down and use those links. But anyway, so the first one's a football jig. This is a Picasso football jig. I know you guys heard a lot. Those who've been watching my videos over the last few months. I finally let the cat out of the bag. Been using this for about 2 years. I've got a box of them and love them to death. No, not sponsored, but my favorite jig just because of the way I fish, and it's really good out of a kayak. It's good out of anything, but 3/8 or a ½ ounce Picasso jig, green, black and blue, or green pumpkin, black and blue, and that's about all I throw. Some type of pumpkin or a combination of the two. You notice that this one's got a pumpkin trailer. It's one of my favorite things to do. The trailer itself is a Rage baby Rage craw is what it is. I also use a Zoom speed craw a lot. Keep it small, keep it simple. I have more luck in the summertime with smaller jigs than I do with big jigs, especially if the water temperature, like right now, it's 91.5 degrees on my fish finder. So with this hot water, when they get out a little bit deeper, those smaller baits work really, really good. Now, the rod I'm going to be throwing this on is a medium heavy fast rod. This right here is a spiral rod from Cast King. It's got a 7.3-to-1 or 7.5-to-1 gear ratio reel. This is the MG12. Now, one thing I've learned with this reel is it's got a small spool. So even though it says 7.5-to-1, the pickup rate is about a 6.8-to-1 or 6-something-to-1. It's a slower pickup rate than what I'm used to with a 7. But it's such a good reel and it casts so well that I can put up with that slower, you know, getting the bait in a little bit slower. 17-pound test fluorocarbon or 15 because it's got a light wire hook. You really don't need any big heavy line. 15 would work fine. 12 would work even fine. This is Cigar Tatsu, just a dynamite combination. You want that medium fast. You don't want an extra fast rod. You want a fast rod so you don't punch a hole so big in the fish's mouth that you end up losing the fish, making a too big of a hole, and he's able to shake it and spit it. All right, so the next one is the OG. I don't know what to call it. This is the classic, the Texas rig. Very, very simple. Let me break this one down and show you what it is. Okay, I love a straight shank hook on a Texas rig these days. I don't get it hung up nearly as much. I don't, except when I'm up against the bank and trying to film and get out of the sun, but I don't get it hung up nearly as much, and which is really, really nice having it pegged and having a straight shank hook. So got a little peg right here. Now, weight of the sinker itself. Okay, so the sinker, if I'm fishing grass like on Gunnersville, I'm going to throw something light, 1/8 ounce, 3/16, 1/4 ounce. That kind of stuff. I'm going to throw, because what I'm doing is I'm casting out into the scattered grass and I'm just working it through the grass and letting it fall. And the lighter the weight, the less it gets hung up in the grass. Now, on lakes that don't have grass, I'm dragging the son of a gun, okay? Big worm is what I love to throw when I'm dragging. Even when I'm in the grass, I'll throw even a smaller worm, like a cutter worm or Rage cutter worm, like, let me find one. Like your regular 7-inch Rage cutter worm. I'll throw that around and it works really good through the grass. But when I'm dragging, I want a ribbon tail worm, Zoom Old Monster, and I'm dragging as slow as I possibly can. I'm talking 4 to 5 minutes a cast. Very, very slow drag. If you're pitching into heavy cover and into brush piles, stuff like that, something that's got a lot of kick, like a rage bug or rage craw or anything that's got a lot of little tentacles or things that, you know, claws that'll kick and stuff like that, just to get their attention. Therein also lies the choice in line size. If I'm fishing heavy, thick grass, I want 17-pound, 20-pound test fluorocarbon. If I'm flipping into cover, heavy cover, same thing, 17, you know, so on and so forth. But if I'm just dragging it on the bottom, I can get by with 12. I can get by with, you know, 12 or 15-pound test fluorocarbon. Hardly ever go braid. I want a little bit of give when I set the hook. But anyway, so fluorocarbon. Now with the rod itself, this is a 7'3" medium fast. Now it's the Getting Jiggy rod. It's the Cast King Getting Jiggy rod from on the Asagi line, and it's a little bit stiffer than a medium, so it'll work just fine. But you want about a medium heavy fast rod, just like you would a jig, and drag it. And when you get the bite, let them take it for a couple of seconds, reel down, and then crack them. So for the reel, I want an 8-speed reel. This is the Mega Jaws 7-2-1, but you can also go with the red one, which is an 8-speed. Something to be able to get it back to me fast so I can make another cast, stuff like that. Texas rig. You can't beat it most of the time of the year, but July, it shines. All right, so the third one. It can get tough, and it does get tough. And if you've got those fish that are down on that offshore structure, on those drops and stuff like that, or in brush piles, you've got to have some type of a finesse rod. My favorite one for best all-around finesse is going to be a shaky head, okay? And this is and I never can remember the name, the SMH shaky head with the SMH worm by Z-Man. Okay, so these are the worms. SMH stands for Shake My Head. It's a B-lat design. I love this thing. I like the old school that have just the little, you know, the little keeper and that's it. And the worm goes on. It's just a straight shank hook. It goes through cover a little bit better. The head shape is really, really nice. As you can see, I have beat this one up pretty good. It's missing a whole lot of paint. The SMH worm is a really good worm. A finesse worm, a Zoom finesse worm, a Zoom trick worm, something like that also works great. But, you know, think small. And just shake and drag. All right, so the rod, this is the shaky head rod, 7-foot shaky head rod from Speed Demon, but you know, a medium fast rod is really, really good. This one is a moderate fast, a medium light moderate fast. Decent. I like them a little bit more with a little bit more backbone to them, but this shaky head rod is pretty good for these really, really light wire shaky heads. All right, so the reel I've got is a Mega Jaws Elite. And this is a 6:2-1 gear ratio reel. I like those higher speed spinning reels. I like to be able to get the bait back to me fast. And this wind is nuts right now. It's going like both directions. So it doesn't know which way to send me. So the line itself, I got some Seaguar Smackdown on there. This is a 20-pound test Smackdown with an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader tied with an FG knot. And that's it. Cast it out, drag it on the bottom, shake it in the brush piles. And then when you set the hook on a shaky head, always set the hook over your shoulder or over your head. Never to the side. You will lose more fish setting it to the side than you will ever imagine. And if you ever have a problem, you know, with the shaky head and you're losing a lot of fish, look at your hook set first. I promise that 99% of the time, that's the problem. Anyway, let's jump on the next one. All right, so the next one, I don't have a rod. I don't have tied onto a rod, mainly because I am not fishing a lake that I would fish this bait. This is an offshore lake that has not hardly any shallow cover or grass or anything like that. But the next one is one of my favorite ones to fish, and that is some type of a hollow body frog. Now, if you guys are watching this video, this is a sleeper Gunnersville color. Okay, just so you know, if you're fishing Gunnersville, this is a color nobody talks about. Anyway, it's a spro frog, but I'm not really picky about the frogs that I fish in grass. The bass aren't either. I just like one that has a light color, or white, yellow, black, or green pumpkin bottom is all I like. Okay, so those are the 4 colors I go with. The rod you're going to use a heavy, fast rod, 7'3", 7'6", a rod that's designed for frogs when you're fishing heavy grass and matted stuff and stuff like that. Now, When I'm fishing not so matted stuff, I like a short, heavy rod. I like a 6'5", 6'8" heavy. If you can't find a short heavy, get a 6'5" or 6'8" medium heavy, extra fast rod if you can find one. And that's a really good rod to, like I said, work around cover and in sparse cover, especially with ponds and things like that. Now, when the braid you're going to use 55 or 65 pound smackdown braid, and a high-speed reel, 8.3 to 1 gear ratio reel, or 8 something to 1 gear ratio reel, and just work it through that heavy cover, around cover, stuff like that, especially early in the morning, late in the evening. But if you've got grass, you can do it all day long. But when you set the hook, make sure you set the hook like you mean it, like you want to send that fish into next week. Set the hook hard, you're going to need it. And also make sure that you wait for that hook set. When you get that splash, one of the hardest things to do is say, I've got to set the wham hook. Okay, I always say that in my head. Get a bite, and instead of going immediately setting the hook, just so I've got to set the hook, and I set the hook. That's just me. A lot of people count to 3 and stuff like that, but a hollow body frog can be one of the most fun things to fish. I got John David to catch his first one on a hollow body frog on Guttersville a few days ago, and now he's hooked. And it don't take long, it sure doesn't. So that's a lot of fun. Let's jump on the next one. The last one of my favorites, especially for offshore stuff and for ponds, because this one doesn't get hung up that much and you're able to feel the bottom out deep and it casts a long ways, but that is a Carolina rig. Okay, so a Carolina rig. Let's talk real quick about how to rig this thing, and then let's jump right back into baits and things like that. All right, so this is how I rig a Carolina rig. First of all, the components. Got an extra wide gap hook. Oh, almost dropped it. A sinker. This is a VMC cylindrical sinker. I'll leave links to all this down in the description. A Carolina keeper. I'll show you how that goes on in a second. And some type of a bead. I don't use glass beads. Tungsten breaks glass. Glass cuts line, and you lose a fish. So I like plastic beads. Just a little bit of noise is all it is. It really, there's no knot with this to protect like we used to put beads on for. So since we're using the Carolina keeper. But anyway, so we put the main line, put the sinker on the main line first, let it run free. Okay. Then the bead. My old eyes can see the little hole that I got to put that in. There we go. Get your mind out the gutter. Okay. And then grab your pliers and the Carolina keeper. Now there's a little slit. I know you probably can't see that. Maybe you can. A little slit in there. You go end to end on that slit, and when you squeeze your pliers, it opens that up. Put your line right through that opening. There you go. Give yourself a little bit of length, and then you tie on your hook is all it is. Since we're using fluorocarbon line, we're just going to do a simple improved clinch knot. Find the cutters on these pliers, and there we go. Now, and you just put your soft plastic on and you go to town. It looks like this: sinker, bead, Carolina keeper, and 14-inch leader or so. I'm not really picky. I don't like super long ones. They're just hard to cast. Then you tie your hook on. There it is. All right, so now that we got it all rigged up, let's talk about baits. The plastics that I like to throw on these are pretty simple, pretty standard. I don't really go overboard. My favorite one is actually a Cinco. I like a 5-inch Cinco. This is not a bolt pack. I just take all of my packs and put them together, so I only have one bag. But anyway, a 5-inch Cinco or a 7-inch Rage cutter worm. It's a really good one, especially in the grass. Some type of a ribbon tail. This is a Mag 2 in plum apple, but a Zoom Mag 2. And then a larger, when you got big fish around, go to a big worm, another cutter worm. So pretty straight worms and stuff like that. I don't throw a Carolina or Texas rigged or a Carolina rigged lizard this time of the year, anything like that, just a straight tail worm. And for some reason that Cinco works better than anything. The rod I'm gonna throw it on is a 7'6" medium heavy, fast or extra fast rod, 7'6", so you can get that slack in and set the hook really hard and get a really good hook set. Line, 15 to 20 pound test fluorocarbon line. And what's nice about that Carolina Keeper is that you don't have to tie 3 knots. You just have to tie 1. And let me think of what else. The hook set itself, when you get bit, a lot of times these fish will take it deep. So try to fish it as much as you can on a tight line. Pay attention to these videos that I've been leaving up in the cards or in the links, so you can go and watch those videos. The Carolina rig video is you got it. There's a key, a key thing is watching that. But the hook set is always a side sweeping hook set, and you'll always catch your fish. This is one of those things where when they are a little bit lethargic, especially in this hot weather, and you're fishing offshore structure, or you're casting out from the bank deep and things like that, this is one of those things that gets a bite when they're really finicky, when they don't want to feel that hook or that sinker. They'll grab that bait, and before they know it, you've got the hook set. So, but that's it. Be sure to keep an eye out for 2 additional bait videos. One's going to be about the baits for pond fishing in July, and the other one's going to be about shallow water baits for July. So stay tuned for those. They should be out in the next couple of days. But like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.